Most seasoned practitioners actually know, but they haven't fully dialed into. When I talk to my colleagues, whether they're therapists or counselors or coaches, HR, holistic health business owners, all of them have noticed the same thing, but they just haven't really grokked exactly what it is and how to work with it. Or they're working with it already and they're doing it instinctively, but they are carrying the load of trying to manage it. Whereas once you understand the structure behind all of it, it becomes a smaller load on the practitioner or the HR person because you understand how the system works and what's going on under the hood. So, most people think that change comes from inside, but if that were true, then high performers wouldn't ever get stuck and therapists wouldn't be burned out. People understand what's happening, but they can name the pattern. They can even know where it's coming from. They can even identify what needs to change. And yet, that doesn't make any lasting change happen. The shift happens, it disappears, 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. The insight lands, but their lives don't actually change. That's because the issue isn't effort, all right? It's not intelligence, it's not motivation, and it's often not a lack of insight. The real issue isn't what you know, it's the state that your system is in when you're driving the vehicle. Think about your life as a journey, and your vehicle is your nervous system. The missing condition is actually regulation and being in a regulated state. That is often something that slips off the menu, but we do see with our clients or with our staff that when they're regulated and they're feeling good, they're more productive. We've often seen in the therapy office that the client, once they're regulated and they're orientated in the present moment, they're actually able to shift their belief patterns. That's because memory consolidation only happens in certain nervous states. In other words, you can only take off and drive under the stars in the desert when your wheels are in balance. Okay, that's what I call the 4 keys. And when you have fuel in the tank, it doesn't matter what type of vehicle you're driving if it's off. So, if your life is a journey and your nervous system is a vehicle, you have to understand that your entire experience is happening through this vehicle, right? You can't get away from it. In fact, it's sort of the purpose of life to have this wonderful body. And yet, so many times we treat it as if it's other or if it's something that we can just leave aside and not take with us when it's actually the whole purpose. People often have the gas on and the brake on at the same time. And they think that pumping the gas harder is going to get them farther faster, but it's really just laying down rubber tracks and burning up the engine. So, some of the signs that people have when they are not regulated are a lot like the signs that you have when your car isn't in the right condition. Things feel wobbly, decisions and turns are harder to make, navigation feels unclear and uncertain, and decisions become like a cloud of brain fog rather than something easy and obvious. Clients tell themselves, and we tell ourselves too, that this is just age. This is just part of the process. But folks, it's not. Yes, aging happens just like on a vehicle. You put wear and tear on it. But if you think about cars out west, one of the neat things that's a good analogy to the nervous system is that there isn't a lot of rust, right? Because there's not a lot of wear and tear in terms of oxidation. So, what people are doing when they're running with high amounts of cortisol and adrenaline constantly is they're putting a lot of rust and rot, decay on their nervous system and they're breaking things down. This is showing up as IBS. This is showing up as fibromyalgia. This is showing up as anxiety and people on medications that aren't necessarily helping them. So, if we want to get this thing under control, we don't need to push harder. If the system isn't regulated, all that clarity, all that good stuff is going to go away, period. This is where this system, therapy, HR, and holistic health all converges because I have a system that shows you how to take the burden off of you, your management, and all of these other things that we're carrying around like a waitress bouncing things around. Instead, we're able to sit that tray down on a platform that has 4 keys, 4 stable legs or columns that unlock your ability to perform at 100%. I mean, what would it feel like for that 100% to come back? Wouldn't it be great? Well, you're never too old or too young to start using a system that helps you to be your most successful. So, in this series, we're finally launching. We're finally launching. I'm so excited. We've had 3 interviews with world renowned experts, therapists, and people in the holistic health field, people who are running rehabs in a modern, leading edge type of way. I'm so excited. So, part number 1 of Finding the Force is actually the interviews. Part number 2 is fun stories, where we're going to talk about my friends Sheila and Lance and use them like a living laboratory to talk about things that are very common in our clients, in our lives, in our friends' lives, and how we can resolve this best. It is also local events and online events. Every Friday, we'll be having a consciousness cafe. We'll be going live here on Substack at 1 o'clock, and 12 o'clock. You can interact with all of the other folks, the practitioners, and myself for Conscious Cafe. And for last but not least, it's just straight up research, interesting stuff, statistics, and data that can help you to understand this 4 key system. So, this whole thing is about regulation first, okay? No good happens outside of a regulated nervous system, right? Your vehicle could actually get in an accident. That's what happens when people have these panic attacks or they end up having a terrible disease or, things start to just fall apart for them. That is that their vehicle has not been maintained properly and things are finally breaking down. So before you get to that ragged edge, just give yourself some time to learn about regulation. And trust me, 40 years of data with HeartMath actually 100% proves that when you're in a regulated nervous state system, you are at your best, okay? So the more joy, the more peace, the more purpose that you can bring into your life, the easier things get. I know that sounds topsy-turvy and contrary, but sometimes the truth is hidden in plain sight. And like I said, if you're a practitioner who's a seasoned veteran in this field, you've seen it before your eyes, but you've just never really figured it out. The reason why I figured it out is because I had a series of strange, life-threatening experiences under mysterious circumstances. I was once a normal person, and I'd like to think I am again. I went to school at American University. I grew up in Wilmington, Delaware. We came here to the beach on vacation in the summers, and I had a wonderful life. I got sick suddenly. And I had to figure out how to connect to something that I call the Force, a place of miracles. And that place of miracles led me to some wonderful discoveries that I'm really looking forward to sharing with you. So it doesn't have to be a difficult decision. If you want to be on the podcast and you have something amazing that you want to share with your friends and with your colleagues out there, or if you want to attract clients to your specific niche in your business, I would love to have you on the show. So click below if you want to be a guest, or click below if you'd like to chat about the system. I offer sessions. I offer a 15-minute, no obligation free consult. Maybe you'll end up on the show with me. Maybe we'll end up working together. Who knows? But you won't know until you try. So don't get too jammed up about it. Just click the button and say hi to me for 15 minutes. I would love to meet you. Bye for now.